Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Let's crack like everyone's Wednesday. It was work, it was school, it was gonna go. That's what you did. Welcome on in. Do another Grouse MX-5 Cup. It's season 2, and I'm just chilling here by myself at the minute, waiting for some other people joining to the server. But we have a few entrants this time around. We're on Limerock Raceway with the no chicane, and we have, I believe, 8 entrants this time around. We have about 30 minutes or 24 minutes to get some practice in before the actual event starts. I've started a little bit late tonight, but trying to get into it without much further ado, I suppose. So I'm already sitting here chilling in the server, ready to go. And I'm in the Discord, sort of waiting for someone to pop in, but we'll just wait and see. Without much further ado, we'll go to the game screen, do some load, get some warming up in, and see what else turns up. I didn't take off me bloody. I'm wearing Uggs. It's freezing cold at the moment in Canberra. Very, very cold. Although I was talking to someone else, and it was pretty cold over in Sydney too. Oh, my build. But worth going to the pits and getting the right build on. There's my 20-minute load, and then for fuel, lower it heaps. Let's do 10 litres. Now the best times I've seen on this were like 58 seconds, so we're trying to beat 58, 59. I think we could probably do it. We'll have to just wait and see though. So I've still got it. I don't normally play in third person, but it's a little bit better for those viewing on shorts, maybe even for the stream in general. Well, it does feel different, holy shit. So there you can basically just go full lift. Whoa. Hard to lose it. So in the first season we did it with chicane, which is obviously slightly different than the with chicane. It's also a bit better once your tyres are warmed up. Change cam here. Nice first person view. To be fair though, we have tyre blankets on, so the tyres should be like pretty much perfect and ready to go off the bat. Have we come around too hot? We've buggered up that entire line. Should definitely get the times up so we can see how close we are to beating 58 seconds. I wonder who we're going to have turn up. Black Lantern was setting some times, so we'll have to wait and see. I'll try and see if I can get a couple laps in, and then we'll get the times up so we can start comparing. See if I'm doing better than the last time around. The last lap. We should definitely do it in this lap. Yeah, let's make it easier for trying to spot other cars coming into our vicinity. I don't know how I saved that, but we did. I'll definitely take that dub. That's a nice dub there. No brakes, just lift. I guess it gets us around. Right. I reckon we should go to pits after we hit this lap. Skip straight in there now. I could have just done what we're driving, but anyway. Where's it? Leaderboard. Move it down. 101. So 2 seconds to drop. I mean, that's pretty harsh. Do a quick raffle for you guys in chat as well. Make sure you guys use exclamation mark. Do you want to jump in there? Do 100k. No, I can definitely save time coming through here. Better if I don't drift though, holy shit. Oh, what the fuck is that? That ain't it, that's what that is. From Forza to this. Pretty surprised how much I've gotten Forza to feel pretty similar to this, not gonna lie. Oh dude. Say that and eat a wall. That was a mad shot. How you doing there, Viewbot? What's crack like I'm with you Wednesday? I was working with school. If that's what you did, welcome to the stream. What's crack lacking? We're just getting some warm-ups in before the event starts in a little over 15 minutes now. Coffee, trying to get myself G'd up. Trying to actually crash and get a good lap in. So far we're trying to beat 58 seconds. It's not there. I can get the live timings link for you up in the YouTube chat there, but yeah, 101. So what, a bit more than 3 seconds, 3.5 basically. I was just saying, it's kind of rough going between games, between Forza 6 to this, but at the same time, I've gotten my Forza to feel pretty good. Doesn't actually feel that far from this. This feels pretty heavy though. Actually, one of the biggest things I found with iRacing was how light the cars felt. I thought it was kind of wild. A bit of hot there. And congratulations on the 100k chippies there, Viewbot. Yeah, spend them all wisely. Just in the middle now. Yeah, 1.1, there you go. If you're looking at chat, we'll look at the road. That's the whole entire point, is it not? What's the split on this? 101.674. Do we get better? It felt alright. Yeah, we got 117. Basically dropped a second. Right from the outside into the inside of this here. And the difference now between this and the last championship is the last one was 7 laps, now these are 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes, so it's how many laps you can do in 20? It should be about 19 to 20 on this. Oh, that was hard. Actually, like, bit my tongue. I just slowed down way too much there, not lifted so much. It could have been a better time. Oh, it still was anyway. pop this bloody gearbox or transmission. The poor thing was whining doing that, but that's alright. This is gonna be better. And fifth coming out of this corner. A bit early, I think. I reckon that's a 59 for sure. That's a 58. Oh, I have to get the live timings out. Let's see how close that is to Black Lantern's time, because he's the G-Star. So we can get it down lower. This feels good though. And we got yellow fuel light up, so as light as we can be. Is revs high. Changed without pressing the clutch, and that's good for your car. Just driving it too hard. It's still better though. It is, only just though. This is going to be the best lap, chat. But so far, every lap's been better. No dirt. I'm going to change up the fifth because that seems to not be doing me much favours. Alright, let's see. Yeah, 586. Alright, I got live timings up and I'll show you guys the chat. Where is it? Grandstand. Nope. Public links. What I get? So Black Lantern's got 58,593, and our best is 58.6. So we're so close. But there you go, chat. Alright. Back to pits and start again. Oh, it's a wall. That's a good effort. Getting in, just like not really trying. Also, there's a lap counter there, but you guys have seen all the laps live. Well, we've only been like 10 minutes. Well, that's not very ideal. But at this point, it looks like we might be having this event by ourselves. I don't know what I'm going to do if that's the case. Might just go play Forza. Oh. That's good though. Might have to go play Forza. That's where probably everyone is, to be honest with you. Staying fourth, higher speed. Alright, so 58.5. 100 milliseconds. Can we get that in 10 minutes? I mean, getting that number one spot doesn't matter that much, but good. Definitely bragging rights. Wasn't that good, but that's alright. Oh, let's not hit that wall, please. Shift down. If we get it, the first lap back, that'd be pretty wild. The first hot lap after pitting. Or in crashing, to be fair. What's that? Yeah, so 10 laps is all we've done so far. You'd be odds on for the win, yeah. Or if it's one, then our odds are pretty high, aren't they? But to be fair, I came third last championship anyway, and we had what, like, ended up having like 20 entrants. Ended up having 20 entrants, and I'm still getting third, and I missed the last 2 events because I had to sort stuff out with my dad. Oh, that's spicy. Let's get a prediction going. Oh, it's too much grass. I wanted to drive to the outside, but not that hard. Let me know too if third person is actually better for the viewing pleasure. 20 to 0. Yeah. 20 to 0. We had a break for some server maintenance. And then I had a break to sort my dad's stuff out. That's how it goes sometimes. A little bit of downtime. I think the timing of 4s or 6s is not ideal. Save it. No. No save. Oh, kind of. Yeah, it's just superficial damage. The qualifiers go for about 15 minutes, so still a fair bit of time to be fair. Make it down. Oh no, came too far to the outside. 360 nose scope taking me out, yeah. I was going to terminal, bro. That's all I was doing. Just going straight to terminal. Also, I ordered a new monitor yesterday. It's been put in the mail today. Hopefully it'll be a little bit smaller, which means I can put my camera in a bit of a better position again, because at the moment it's in a pretty rough spot. The camera is over to my right and chat is over to my left. I'm doing my best to try and read chat, but it's half the problem. I was going to put my camera, a couple of things in front of me underneath my monitor, but I decided to downgrade monitor sizes, because at the moment I'm using a 2K 1440p monitor, and if I go down to a 1080p one, I can run my games a bit harder, and I'll get a bit more longevity out of the system. And probably flog off this monitor. I'm not too sure yet though. If I flog it off, I'll just keep it, so I have a 2K monitor, a curved one if ever I need it for a build or something. And then I've got a 1080p one to my left, which I'm going to give to my missus, because she's using a shitty little TV. And then I'll use that little TV as my second monitor, because my second monitor is literally just for OBS and Discord and stuff when I'm like gaming and... Oh, I took it out of gear, fuck. It's a good deal, but I'm also a bit dubious, because it's one of those online only deals, so I'm hoping... Like, it's been shipped and that's from JB, so I don't think the seller's not reputable, but yeah, it might not be that great in the mail. We've just got 58.5 too, chat. Can we beat 58.5? Oh, we're drifting. Well, not beating 58.5 this lap. The room's so dark, so much point having the camera on. See, the thing is I can improve the lighting in the room. It's just like the camera settings and stuff. But I've had the camera off on the landscape because it's my bit rate's too low, so you don't actually get like the full fidelity of all the lights I got on and stuff like that. But I'm getting new internet hopefully next week. Well, not hopefully, that's the plan. And the increased upload speeds means I can actually stream at 1080p because my PC can handle it. It's just that I don't have the net for it. Don't have the net. And it's just one of those things that's easy to stay where we are than it is to move. But nonetheless, it doesn't be on all the time anyway. Nonetheless, don't need it on all the time anyway. But high quality streams means I can stream at like 1080p, 60 FPS, or 2K depending. I can stream at 2K to Twitch like already, but I can't multi-stream if I do that. And I don't know if I actually don't mind the streaming to YouTube at all. Enjoying that quite a bit. Kicks for not being that successful, but that's alright. That's how it goes sometimes. It's a bit of an experiment in that sense. But it also doesn't get that bad. But the YouTube stuff is handy because then like my VODs are just saved and I don't have to worry about them being unlisted, and if anyone wants to watch them back they can. But yeah, YouTube lets you stream at such high qualities as well though, so I always do like Twitch exclusive streams, maybe I should start doing YouTube exclusive ones. It's easier to do like fishing streams and shit on YouTube. Which is the way like the streaming encoder works. Guys missed out on the hoot hoot. And the Pokemon should work for you guys on YouTube if you want to get amongst it. Maybe at 58.5 again. The wheel drive itself. Before you touch up this engine tune, Mr. Raw. Yeah, I'm only streaming at 720p at the moment. I'm only doing 720p at the moment because it was actually mainly because I was thinking my upload speed was, it has something to do with it. But new net next week means I'll be streaming at high quality again. That's why the camera is off in the landscape views on Twitch. But yeah, dude, just missed that. I'm finally upgrading Mr. Raw, mate. It's like 750 down, 45 up, 44 up. So it's still not amazeballs, but it beats my 100 down, 20 up. Because I just need the up, bro. And to stream at 2K to Twitch, you need at least like 16 up. And like, yeah, I can do the 16 up, but then only having a couple of... Oh shit, the event's starting. I only have a couple of fucking megabits for fucking gaming, and then other shit, not ideal. We gotta load back in, so give me 1 second, chat. Because this event's WME. To be fair, that decision will be made next week, but we're picking, because there's a couple of places that offer the same speeds and the same deal. I think it's IINet we're going with first, and then maybe TPG. Yeah. It's actually cheaper for better net, so go figure. It's about making the switch. But we have qualifying starting now for the MX-5 Cup Season 2. So I've just got a list of deals, dude. I think I had Aussie Broadband not far away, but there's Mate as well, which is pretty fucking similar. But like, so iiNet for the 750 down 40 up was 100 a month, the normal deal, but then it's only 70 for the first 6 months, no lock-in contract. DPG 70 for the first 6 months, no lock-in contract, same speeds. And then Kogan had one, same speeds, but the deal was only 85 for the first 12 months, but it's $5 more. But I think I might be lock-in. Yeah. Is that in July too? Hey, Chippy. You be racing soon again, mate? I do miss you. What's going on, eh? What's going on? Do a raffle for you gamblers and channel, right? Do 50k though, because you bot's getting heaps. Make sure you guys, is exclamation mark join to jump on in there? Yeah, sure he will, eh? Sure he will. Got the message they send it back. They give me a free posting, so it's free. Hey, we'll get it done, mate. No excuse. It's not working, eh? But make sure you guys use exclamation mark join. And who here in chat's getting this little event we got going? Am I seeing you, Daniel? Oh, I do have him already. Yep. Yeah, he's registered at the last minute. Last minute, better approve it, eh? Except, we got Daniel. He's in. And I'll put live timings in chat for you guys again. Yeah, he lost all his force feedback, the poor fella. There you guys go, though. Get in there. Can Dan beat 58 seconds, 0.5? But that's the question. Oh, should we get the right screen, though? G'day, Daniel, mate. I'll make sure stream can hear, but how are you? Yeah, not bad, not bad. And you're live to stream now, mate, so I hope you dropped enough M-bombs. What I was gonna say, it's not appropriate. You bloody racist, Daniel. Alright, I want everyone to know.
I would never. I would never, mate.
Alright, so what do you reckon the odds are on this W, mate? You're keen for a 20-minute one-on-one race?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Keen on some MX-5s, mate.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 1v1, like doing a bit of Rust, bit of Dome. Maybe Call of Duty was more your time.
Duke Nukem, mate.
Duke Nukem? What even is Duke Nukem, bro?
You never know what it is.
I've heard of it. Like, I've seen the game covers, lad, but I've actually never played it or seen gameplay of it. So I actually don't know.
Old school, mate. Like a Windows 98 or something.
Yeah. Like Doom level kind of game, or to play Doom.
Yeah, I think it's like that.
Yeah, right. Get amongst it, you 12-y. Leave me alone, Raw. You're the fucking 12-y playing Forza Horizon fucking 24. Alright? Come here and play a real man's game released over 12 years ago. This game's a 12-y, what the fuck?
All coming tonight?
No, he's over. I think he's playing Horizon. It's a good game too. I'm not talking shit on it. Don't hate me. Yeah, I've got into 58 too, brother.
Ooh, okay.
Yep, I'm grinding. No hairdresser cars for Mr. Raw tonight. Nuts.
Suit yourself, mate.
Moved it to 7, even less people showed up than when it was at 8, bro.
Yeah, can't please them, mate.
Can't please anyone. Oh, there's Husky. Now we got a competition. It pulls out the MX-5 and Forza 6. Is that you on the call, mate?
Yeah.
Oh, you're quiet as. Let me turn you up.
Oh yeah, my bad. I've fucking computer issues, mic issues, the whole bit.
Alright, where are we going here? Straight or fuck? Yeah, cool.
Straight, yeah.
Straight. Wall, pits. Yeah, Black Latin, I think, still has the best time. I'm not quite sure.
I'd fucking believe that.
Yeah. But we're neck and neck, both got 58.5. It's a bit weird though playing third person. The way the camera like moves around, I don't know if I actually like it. It's like shoulder tilting in fucking FPS games. It's like kinda shit you can choose.
Yeah, I only ever use it in third person stuff. Replays. Do some pretty cool shit with it.
Third person all day, baby.
Yeah, you got the third person fucking enthusiast over here.
Yeah, true. Well, it means you can actually see people next to you, but you still hit them, Dean, so what's the go
Yeah,
there?
it's irrelevant, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gives me a better view when I'm hitting them.
Make sure you hit him square in the rear quarter panel then.
He's out to do damage, he's not here to fuck around.
It's like on Dan, Captain Damage.
Captain Damage.
Oh, that's not good.
Mate, you're working away. How surely you have people there you call Captain Damage dropping pallets every couple of weeks so they just get fired.
Heaps of them. Nah, no one gets fired at my joint. It's pretty fucking weird, actually.
Too unionised, mate.
Oh, they're just too scared to fucking enforce anything. But that's yeah. I had a fucking doozy yesterday. I was putting something in that didn't. Shit, sounded really bad out of context. Putting something in that didn't fit, and I didn't realise until like it didn't fit.
Yeah.
And I went to pull it out, and it fucking sort of the whole back end sort of collapsed. So there was like 7 full boxes of wine. Fucking
just everywhere.
I was there with a mop bucket for a good fucking 20 minutes, and it didn't do anything.
So, let's just recap this. You had to sit there for a mopping bucket after you tried to jam something in and it didn't fit. It sounds like you need to have a SWAT team on you.
Yeah, that's exactly how it played out, actually.
Yeah. And you're meant to be forklift certified.
I am.
Yeah. Was it on the forklift or was it on like the little caddy? Yeah. What a guess, what an assumption.
Yeah. Oh, it's not really. Oh, I should have known better it didn't fit, but fucking should have fit. Why would it be there if it didn't fit?
Yeah, surely you wouldn't make that mistake if you weren't in something motorised, right? Because you have a bit more time.
Yeah, like by the time it got fucking stuck, it was there was no way to pull it out with it. You got to crack a few eggs to make an omelette or whatever. It wasn't coming back out the same way it went in.
Right, well I've secured my qualifying position.
Back to the pits.
Damn, I arrived, just see you crashed. Thomas, mate. That's pretty rude, bro. I don't crash. I just constructively make mistakes.
And Crasher gets taken out by Captain Damage.
Captain Damage, yeah. I'm sad to see. I'm only racing against Dan. Like, fuck, it's just going to be a derby.
Oh,
Fuck.
yep. Fucking gotta reset my PC, so I was having all sorts of things missing, things not set up.
Oh. It's actually kind of annoying though when that happens, not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, I didn't learn my lesson from, like, I literally reset it, like, the day, 2 days before the drift event, and that was my first like, oh, you don't have anything set up. But again, I just like ripped straight in and wasn't thinking. The map wasn't fucking installed, so it took like 5 minutes for it to download. And this was at like 6:50.
Yeah.
Like 8 minutes to download, and I'm sitting there, all right, we'll jump in now, all good. Then I realized like my resolution was fucked, and then my wheel software wasn't actually
Working.
locatable. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In horrors, because
Right.
you have a separate setup, right? Like you have basically like a VR rig almost without the VR.
Yeah, it's a full separate cockpit. So I'm sitting here with a wireless Logitech keyboard with a trackpad, and that's all I've got connection-wise to the PC. I'm sitting here trackpadding it up.
Difficult masturbating area.
It is, but yeah, you put the VR headset on, mate, and it's all the same.
There's a quick 100k rough of everyone in chat. Oh, there's not even. Embarrassing.
What are we running fuel-wise?
Oh yeah, shit. Thank you.
Oh no.
I had my fuel set up fucking at qualifying leaders.
15?
Well, we 20 laps, you can get about a minute per lap. So yeah, for me, 18 laps is probably the safe. Yeah, 18 liters. Sorry.
Yeah, not 18 laps. You'll get taken out by damn mate and run out of fuel.
Yep. Oh, welcome to the stream, Jazz. Unlurkified. Yeah. I also added new emotes, if everyone that gives a fuck about that shit, on Twitch. There's like animated emotes. I've got like hype rave and like a really like sad one with rain, just to signify a depressing moment racing.
Really sad one with the rain. Is the rain what makes it depressing, or?
No, it's the picture of me that makes it depressing, I think. I have to add more, but
I've been kicked from the server. What about?
Oh no. Exceeded ping limit, mate.
What the fuck?
Restart it.
I don't think I even can easily. That's the roughest part. I think I can actually.
Oh, I can't do it anyway. I'll be here and beep boop in a fucking.
It's restarted. It's got a minute. Did that?
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me.
He's got a minute. The
I
pressure.
understand.
I can
Content man, I get it, buddy.
keep restarting this.
That's alright. I think I'm coming. Unless you fucking.
35 seconds.
Yeah.
Count it down. Count it down.
Hey, he's in.
Hold on, fucking. Boom.
I thought it didn't fit.
Fuel doesn't. Boom. 18. Yeah. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's foggy. Oh.
Yeah, you've actually changed the weather, so. This isn't Husky's fault.
Yeah, that's alright. Oh, and that no jump start. That's a fucking godsend. I thought I fucking jump started, but it wasn't possible.
I wasn't clocking. Yeah, that no jump start is pretty handy, eh?
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, this is like set up to be like the beginner league, and then the V8s have jump starts and that still, so it's like one's beginner, one's more like punishing.
Where the fuck's Dan?
Oh, mate, I had connection issues too.
Oh,
We're good. I'm coming out of the pits now.
to speed cap ourselves, Husky.
Yeah. Fucking roll.
Although it is a 20-minute off a reverse group.
Oh, yeah, fucking.
Fuck him. He'll just crash into us.
Yeah, we've just got it on. See, you should have got kicked for being ping limited or whatever, mate. That would have forced it, like, you know, they would have mentioned something. I thought I wigged out, but I could see it on here, so I knew that probably wasn't the case.
Yeah, no, I don't
I
know
didn't
what's
know
going
what
on.
happened. You just disappeared, like off this track, and then it was like connection issues. I was like, oh, was my internet cut out because I couldn't hear you.
Oh
And
shit!
then when you come back, I was like, oh fuck, I quit and reloaded.
When did you do that?
Too
You're
late.
like saying, "Oh shit, that's grass."
Mowing the lawns.
Not on the lawns, yeah. Give me a little haircut.
Fucking little yellow lawnmower.
Oh, I don't know. That's I shouldn't be doing that. Named Julio. Mowing lawns.
Side gig, mate. Not Jim's mowing, mate. Julio's mowing.
It's Harvey's. Harvey's? Ones.
Others. Everyone. You know how many fucking different gym services there are?
There's too many. There's too many gyms.
Yeah. Went to the website and there's like 68.
They're franchises too, aren't they?
Yeah. My neighbour's got a Jim's mowing, man. He's doing some gym.
It was like Jim's mowing, Jim's car detailing, bloody Jim's dog washing.
Computers.
Jim's
Yeah,
computers.
Jim's everything, mate. They probably do like basically everything.
Jim's divorce lawyers.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Imagine seeing them. Jim's. Imagine getting that for fucking legal aid. Oh, fucking Jim's lawyers like, oh, fuck, done.
We're done here. Well,
Yeah,
imagine you getting legal aid and it's fucking an ex-Marines
that's
player,
it, yeah.
Melman Agnes Johnson. Oh, maybe I should be pulling out a whole state.
Fuck 'em.
Oh. Mate, poor Daniel. Maybe we should handicap ourselves.
Don't worry about me, mate. There's never a chance.
He's got next race to run. Reverse grid, which will be an interesting reverse because I'm pretty sure we both lost our dogs.
No, I think the reverse grids are actually set to work this time out. A bit more grass for me.
More Jim's mowing. More Jim's mowing. Oh, yeah, the outside, not a place I want to be in front.
That was a bit scary even for me. I was like, oh, I gotta dodge this cunt.
Yeah.
No, that's rough about the third person is delayed input. Like it feels delayed.
Really?
It's not actually.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it would feel that way. Just I can't do it. Just throws me off on the sim. I can't do fucking third person. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
Now I break early because so you fucking cut it.
I try to sometimes.
Been trying to fit things that don't fucking fit, you know, and then pull it out. Chew them off the bucket.
Get the mop bucket. So I come through there a little bit quicker than you. I've made up some time.
So stick
It snaps, yeah, hey.
Yeah. It's not more on late next fucking 15 minutes.
Should start to call this a lemon cup or something.
A lemon cup.
And just make us all race these with yellow ones around.
Yeah. I like the yellow.
Oh, can I get the inside?
Gone too wide. Gotta give it up.
We're just gonna be trading this whole race, I feel like, if we race like
Yeah,
this.
no lawnmower in there, Donnie. That's where I'll get ya.
Oh.
Everywhere else, no chance.
Yeah, I always go too hard. You're scary to have behind you because you go, ooh. Oh. Yep. That. I called it. I don't know how I saved it.
Yeah, it looked fucking pretty, dude. Good draw on that time. Nah, you'll fucking pull that back, that's maybe too much.
Yeah, it's like
if you bend it into the wall, different story. But like,
comebackable.
oh yeah, we haven't seen Dan either, which means he's racing pretty well.
Nah, dude, look at the map now. He's still 360s, bro.
Oh,
As you said that, he started doing the 360. Yeah. I'm sure that's how he feels too.
it's scary when he gets quiet. Nothing good can
I think my wheel is cooked. It's like.
come. No, fucking chippy on us. Fuck out of here.
It's on a like 90-degree angle going straight.
Oh, you need to reset the game.
Or you've cooked your suspension. That's part of fucking crashing.
Oh, true as well. Yeah, there's damage on.
No, it started like that.
You have
Oh.
done a fucking chippy, haven't you?
Oh,
Really?
just squirreling around that corner. Yeah, no, so it happens if you like start the game and it like doesn't center properly. So things are centered your wheels in the 90-degree position.
Yeah.
If you have bad crashes, it can happen too. Yeah, it's crack a lacking with your Wednesday. I was school's good with her. So you did. Yep, I'm good. Trying to hold this together.
Still on the tarmac. Blame the fog.
Blame the fog. I make up time and then I start losing time. We're doing the MX-5 Cup Season 2. Round 1. We have Daniel, Husky, and myself. And Husky's slapping me.
Do you also have like a massive ass fucking window banner that like really impedes your vision, or just me with the skin?
No, I do too. Yeah.
Fuck this. Gotta fix this wheel.
We've copped a reset.
Yeah, restart, you know, you get it all funky fresh for next race.
Hunky dory.
Restart even. It's fucking coming back.
Come on.
I hear him sniffing.
Sniffing.
They're in the big blue house back there, mate, huh?
Yeah, I'm looking for Luna.
Pop that. That.
Bye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. Now it's time to
Play a sport,
go.
mate.
I don't know.
Fucking kids telly like that anymore. Actually, they're probably.
Well, Play School's still going, brother.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they got everything still. They're bringing back the bananas and pajamas and actual fucking suits as well now, because everyone hated the animated
yeah.
version.
Yeah, 100. That was the best thing about it.
Yeah, bro.
Big fucking bananas.
Bring back the definitely creepy dudes in mascot uniforms.
Yeah, it's not weird at all.
No.
Back on
Bring back the Param Possum. That's my favourite.
it. Just like fucking Santas and shopping centres and that, you know, same deal.
Same deal. I think that's slightly worse, right? You get forced to take a photo on their lap, and half the time kids are screaming and crying because they have no idea what's going on.
That's a real, yeah, that like same as my story with little context sounds terrible.
Yep, yeah. Getting paid to do it, no less.
The more you delve into it, the fucking worse it sounds.
We have a Whimser as well, chat, for everyone that likes the Pokemans. Oh shit. Husky's learned how to come through there fast.
Feeling it out.
Yeah, it's just Mang in third, basically. At least in my gear ratios.
Biggest thing with these is they feel like really planted in control up until they're not, and then you get to that grip limit and you start, that's when it gets real fucking squirrely. That's somewhere you don't want to be.
But there's like a a point where you're definitely getting more speed because you got higher revs. Hey, look at that.
It's like a rotary, keep it up there in the fucking rev range.
What actually are these?
Oh, some fucking 1.8 or 1.6 fourth cylinder, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
My 4 cylinders in the shop. It'll be out soon.
Yeah?
I'm busy at the moment, but once I settle down my squad, I will join your stream. Add me on Discord. Oh, I suppose so. You can always add me on Discord. I'm in the middle of a league race. A little hard for me to do that. But thank you, Loves Mars. You can always use !mark Discord in chat. But yeah, so it's in the shop. Getting a full service. Fucking Oma hasn't hit me back up. So that's a good sign. It's been a week.
Yes, sometimes no news can be good news.
Yeah, I kind of was like gave him liberty, and I was like, anything big, obviously give us a ring, but like if you think it should be done and it needs to be done, do it, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's terrifying when you your mechanic calls you and it's either been too short of a time or too long of a time.
Yeah.
News.
No, I figure it's going to be hard to find bits and pieces for it, so.
Oh yeah, the old guys. Oh, absolutely not, man.
Oh yeah, he's back, but I think you're spinning again there, Daniel. I didn't know if you noticed.
We're coming up, aren't we? Here we are, the banana.
The Nunu. Oh, coming. He's Brucey.
He's one of them bananas with the fucking weird little red condom thing on. Look.
Yeah, the weird little side stripe.
Yeah.
Blue flags are optional too, Daniel.
Yeah, it's up to us to fucking make the clean pass.
Actually, I would have him go in front here. Last time, I got PTSD.
Yeah, remember that? It was here and also over here, actually. This turn was also another one.
There's a couple where I've got the emotion, given so much grief.
I think that was here.
Yeah, Donnie's going for the quarter paddle tap. No. Look what he ate.
He's swerving.
Did you set himself off?
He's swerving.
Oh!
Oh, fuck, Donnie!
Donnie down. Donnie
That
down.
was my bag. That was my bag. Get back out there. That was 100% my fault. That didn't need to happen that way.
It's so good. Bucky's back in front.
Fault.
Quick, get him. Don't let him get away. Thank you, brother.
No, that was...
Wary of the wrong person there, mate.
Taking me out. Thank you for the follow there, Nicole. Yo, what's crack like with you Wednesday? Yeah, Dan was coming for us with the little hunt, and then Husky, bam!
Yeah, I fucking you know, when you least, who you least expect it from. They just fucking tearing your brain off and just fucking turned into you.
Yeah, it's alright. Maybe I braked a little hard.
No, I fucking, no, not at all. I don't know what happened.
You're like, yeah.
It's just like a fucking magnet, essentially, that happened.
Target acquired.
Yeah, it's...
How are we going to crash into Daniel now?
Oh, just wait.
Atrix, I should say. It's not like he's
I think the problem is I instantly just went to the line that I do when it's empty, and you were there.
big bright yellow thing.
I was coming a little bit too quick. I'm like, I've got to fucking pull this up and turn in, and that's... You were there the whole fucking time.
I'm not your low fuel light, lad. Come on now.
Yeah, I see that too. It's distracting. It's right. Like that one time I ran out of fuel in the fucking 1 hour endurance race just before the 1 hour mark. That was really fun. I got black flagged.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, we haven't done a 1 hour endurance since then. Oh, actually, no, we did the F1s, didn't we? Hello, Corrupt.
Yeah, that was a fucking endurance race, that's for sure.
I swear I said hello to your brother earlier. I didn't miss you, unless you missed me saying hello. I'm sorry. How you doing though? What's cracking with your Wednesday? We had a good day at work, good day at school, if that's what you did. Oh, I'm drifting. Come on, let's get him. I'm trying really hard to focus on racing and not at the same time. Been drifting on Assetto most of the day. What about you? Oh, I've just been kicking back. I had a bit of stuff to sort out at home, but I woke up a bit late and it kind of ruined my day in the sense of like the stuff I planned to do. I got half of it done, a bit of budget stuff done, and to start writing out letters to send to the bank and sort out registration papers and stuff. But other than that, pretty chill, pretty chill. Didn't want to do more, but hey, this happens. Oh, yeah, I held it, yay. Depends on a busy day tomorrow, but I gotta get to bed early tonight, so I actually wake up in time. I think I'm stressed though. Not as stressed as Daniel is probably right now though.
Mate, he doesn't fucking mind if he wouldn't fucking know what's going on.
Should we just take him out?
If you can catch him. He's a slippery little fucking noodle when he gets away.
Yeah, he's pretty aerodynamic.
Especially when he goes quiet, mate. That's when you gotta worry.
Yeah, he's in focus mode.
He's fucking locked in.
Yeah, got work till fucking Friday, then we have a drifting comp on Saturday. Nice, dude. You keen on the drifting comp? We had a little muck around one a few weeks back, just to bloody keep stuff going on between these events.
Fucking drifting event, Dan's gonna be fucking swarthy there.
Yeah, there's people making good times on that too.
Oh, Dan, you're a man!
Oh, who did you take out? Did he take out you?
Oh, I fucking respect the commitment on that one. That one was crazy.
Oh, he went for you.
No, he didn't go. He was going real hard, and it fucking ended negatively for him. It looked like he held it, and then he didn't. Then he was upside down.
That crest is killer. No, the boys want me to judge, plus I don't like driving. I drive at VDC. True. Still, good judging, good content judging as well. Record/stream it, I imagine, do you correct? Come on. Oh, I was just on two wheels.
Oh no.
Oh, you've got it. Oh no, you don't, because there's a lap to go.
No.
There's a lap to go. My heart's pumping too.
Tyres are not happy with the vehicles.
Like, I'm driving this thing. Drone cam. Oh, dude, that's a sick comp. Have to jump into our Discord and pump something in there. I don't know if I have the speed to do anything with this. Good racing, Husky.
Well, you too, mate. You too. Holy fuck, that was. Woo!
reverse? No. No reverse.
It's gone.
Oof, that was hectic.
That was fully hectic.
That fucking yeah,
Got all the
wow.
fire clips in the drone cam. Fuck yeah. Mate, jump into the Dizzy. Use exclamation mark Discord. Oh, exclamation mark Grouse, sorry. And post them in the video clips. I'd love to see them. You ready for this one, Dan?
Yeah, mate, yeah. Should be alright. Wheel straight this time.
Yep. You're all set up then.
It was a very intense last two laps. Holy fuck.
My heart's pumping, yeah. I had cold coffee left there, shit. Like, fuck.
If I fucking crash, I crash.
What is it? Hold the throttle down to see the finish line, or God.
Yeah, that was that.
Yeah, that's what Daniel did
That was
too.
like 36 seconds. Yeah, fucking oath. That's what he's good at.
Yeah. Make sure you guys use exclamation mark join to get in that raffle too for 50k chips.
I've got a penalty lock for 60 seconds, so I hope that
Or no.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time, you know. That's foot flat. He's been kicked. Oh no.
That could be a blessing in disguise.
Oh no.
That's still 55 seconds, but you're good, yeah.
Yeah, that could be a blessing in disguise. Yeah. Fucking
Is it this Husky?
fucking didn't like me. Yeah, you should be right. As long as I don't fucking get penalty locked for 20 years again.
Alright. We're Gucci.
Yeah. Why am I up here?
Yeah, because
That's good.
Verskid's working. Yep. I fixed it.
I fixed.
Yeah. This feels very reversed.
Yeah, this. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't ask questions. I just work here.
Yeah, that's it. That's my response to everything. I don't even work here.
I don't work
I
here.
don't wanna be up here.
I don't know how I
In
got here.
reverse grid.
It's balanced well, isn't it, Dan? Dan. I don't
Yeah,
say
I like
Dan.
it.
What server I'm in? I'm in Grouse Racing. This is server I'm running. Don't come in too hot here. Jesus.
Yeah, waving my tyre blankets the first fucking laps a little bit.
Still squirrely. Yeah,
It's good, but you can really get the wheels skid and get the heat into them.
Yeah, Dan's the same.
Not too
as
much,
drift.
but fuck me. Jesus Christ.
Was that you drifting or me drifting?
I almost died, yeah, that was...
This hill's brutal too on cold tyres.
Yeah. Gotta remember, we're not fucking the last lap, the last race anymore. I don't have to fucking push 100% through there on cold tyres.
Need the best times every lap.
If you're not pushing it 110%, why are you even out here?
Line up the 10 pins for Dan.
Get out of the way. Need to make a fucking bowling related skill. Play the ball.
That's fucking sketchy. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, he's on the grass.
I see some sideways action in the rear there.
Fuck, you should have seen how bad it was last race. Husky was just there, just sniffing my fucking butt cheeks as I was going in the grass, off the grass.
Pretty good smell. Smell like grass clippings.
Everyone loves the smell of grass clippings, right?
Oh, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, my missus doesn't. She's allergic to fucking grass and pollen.
Oh, that'd suck. That's
Yeah.
an
Allergic to grass.
Yep. Like the pollen from or whatever. Oh, fuck, that's not ideal. I'm coming, Husky.
Just biding my time.
I'm coming until I hit one of these walls.
Yeah, yep.
Well, that's the line. What happened then?
Just slowly slipping away from me.
Oh, doesn't matter now.
I'll just keep on keeping on, mate. Fucking marathon, not a sprint.
Fucking, he's in the tractor out in the John Deere.
Yeah, I was getting the tractor out.
Farming sim, eh?
Bit of farm sim. I was too busy looking at a map and I just like stayed in fifth until the apex of the fucking T1, eh?
It's fucking pinned and fit through.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
No engine braking needed.
Fifth to reverse, mate. That'll fix that.
Yeah, use that Isaac Newton philosophy, you know? Equal opposite forces, just use a bit of gravity to slow it down.
It's the pro racing technique.
Turn left to turn right.
That's Doc Hudson, baby.
Basically Isaac Newton.
Yeah, same.
Oh! Clutch optional. Oh, you missed out.
You,
getting the Raffle Thomas. Yeah.
You were playing some Forza Horizon 6 last night, were you, Donny?
Yeah, I was, mate. Oh!
You like it?
Yeah, it's good. Definitely a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I set my wheel
Same
up.
rule, they haven't reinvented the wheel or anything or done anything yet. The initial the setting align's enough to get me fucking.
Settings nice.
Yeah.
The cars are nice so far. The performance on my PC, I've turned it down just so I could stream it a bit better.
Yeah.
But dude, like I was getting like easy doing the frames I needed at ultra settings, like at 144 frames. It's just like, yeah, wasn't going to be able to stream it at that high quality though. But have you done that? Like pump the settings on it because it fucking looks nice.
Oh yeah, mine auto defaulted to extreme essentially, and the only thing I had to change was some of the NTA that's in. I was getting a bit of weird ghosting and shit, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Literally no complaints. I haven't done as much racing as I could though. I tried to do a bit of PvP online and was struggling to like actually get PvP going.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've never actually done any sort of PvP on any of the mods, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Thought it was a bit of fun. Oh, yeah, just couldn't get in there. Same problems as everything else did though. You know, can't scratch India and that.
Yeah, that's the main reason I just couldn't shoot something. Just got out on the AI doesn't enough.
Yeah, it'd be infuriating going on a race and just having some cunt crash you out. But it's also kind of nice, like it's extra challenge trying to dodge cunts.
Yeah, it's never just like follow the race line and do your best. You know, it's fucking chaotic.
GTA Online style. I don't know if you've ever raced in GTA Online, but fuck.
Oh, I've done a few of them. They're fucking pretty wet and wild.
Yeah, dude. Half of that is dodging the other cunts in the race.
Not seeing someone behind you, knowing you're gonna get fucking taken out, so you can sort of plan ahead.
It's preparing us for Daniel.
I feel like you're just talking about me thinking I'm not here.
You were so quiet, mate. We weren't sure.
Was it seen and not heard back there? Although you're up there, you're in the middle between a Husky and Don Sandwich.
Favourites. what to be.
This is squirrely. I'm not driving well. Oh, I've done that wall again. Trying to push it really hard around like the no chicane part, and I just keep clipping the tires and getting sent. Which events have you been getting into, Husky? Just all of them? The straight racing?
Just all of them. I was using that like recommend
The what's next thing?
Yeah, that one. But then like I got to the point where it just kept doing fucking off-road events, and I was kind of like, fuck, like, you know, I like a bit of big shit, but I did like fucking 10 minute row. I'm like, you know, fuck this, like I'll just run through them.
Or just something else sort of thing?
Yeah, I want to try and like do a bit more exploration too, because like with fucking 5, I didn't give a fuck about the setting. It was just so fucking like, I don't know, in my opinion, it was just fucking boring and bland.
Wasn't that cool, eh?
No, same with 6. I find myself driving everywhere. Like I don't care if it says like, oh, it's like 15 k's away. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll drive there. But like at 5, I was like, oh fuck, I'm fast travel. Like,
Yeah, I definitely teleported heaps in 5. But the one thing I need to do, damn, that's fucking scared the shit out of me, bro. I want to get like a good circuit track so I can tune cars, because that's one of the things I love doing is sitting there tuning, and it helps getting the wheel settings good, because obviously wheels are a bit weird on the horizon. Are you playing with wheel?
Nah, I'm just playing with control, to be honest. I like playing.
Nice and casual.
Have you done the time attack events yet?
No, I'm up to that in the story, I think.
Yeah, there's one that I'm sure there's multiple of them. The first one it takes you to do that to be a pretty good circuit to test and tune on.
Yep.
They're really cool, especially like the open lobby ones. Just like everyone in that server just like runs them, just runs continuously. So you just all battling for the best time, essentially.
Yeah, right. Start actually setting the WRs.
It's good too, because I think even fucking just pre-orders alone, the all-time peak was like 178,000 people in Steam or something, which is
Heaps.
I'm pretty sure the Forza Horizon 5 peak was like 50, 60 all-time peak, so like 100,000, 110,000 plus more.
Yeah, because it's not Xbox as well.
Came out. Yeah, before it was even fucking properly out, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, dude. And it's fully cross-play, cross-progression, everything, so like that's an entire player base.
Yeah, not people fucking divide and bring them together.
But we have a rando.
I was about to say, fucking 10k to bits or something. He was quiet again. I was anticipating the worst.
It's another guy. FLB on lock. It's not far from you. A bit of grass. Engine's a bit sad. Oh! Ah! I nearly hit the tires again, and I forgot what it is. I go on the outside left 2 wheels and like fully tip the car. You wouldn't get that in first person. What's this guy doing? He pulled off. to get in amongst it, so I made a bit of a car to do street races in, and I did like a cheese build just to fuck around.
Yeah.
Drag tires, fucking stupid amounts of horsepower, a lot. And yeah, no, pretty. I thought they were gonna get rid of some of like the cheesy engine settings and car settings, but it's still not that hard to do.
Yeah, I guess there's always going to be a couple ways around.
Oh yeah, we got a drifter. Nice. That's why we'd be able to dodge that.
Yeah, but I had to stop myself. I was almost powering through to the fucking wristband things. I'm like, nah, go do like some of the barn finds and the treasure cars and some of the story, you know, and like, slow down the game.
Yeah. I only just got my first wristband and that was it, basically. I don't want to play too much of it like what I've been on stream, but at the same time, I want to enjoy it too. So I did a bit of like dirt racing on it last night. I found myself like trying to handbrake everything and like do the handbrake turns, and I was like, no, it's Horizon. You just turn.
Yeah,
like,
you just send it.
Yeah. Don't need to be handbraking it.
Error, you just fucking, you know, get back and go.
Right, it feels good on the wheel, dude. You should definitely try it out because they made improvements to the software this time to make it feel nicer on steering wheels. But it's also made it good for controllers though, like better. So you get the same benefit still. Like, because now it's got like, well, I think 540 degrees of motion on the steering wheel. So like it's 1-to-1 with steering wheels. And better movement and like range of motion for analog sticks as well.
I heard, I don't know, like it's not full simulator spec, but I'm pretty sure they've got like a pretty improved tyre model as well.
Yeah, it's a new tyre model, like 16 points of contact I think now.
Fuck, that's...
Do you know why?
No.
The Forza Motorsport team got melded into the Horizon team.
Oh heck, dude.
Yeah, so like there used to be two separate development teams, studios.
Yeah.
And Motorsport being the more popular one used to have all the funding and have more developers, but now because Horizon's more popular and like to the point where it's made Motorsport kind of irrelevant, they've lumped the two studios into one.
That's cool.
Little sad for Motorsport, but it means that might still be able to make them having two teams essentially.
Yeah, and like Motorsport, to be honest, like the last one copped a fair bit of flack for whatever fucking reason, but it was actually not too bad. I quite enjoyed it.
I really enjoy it too, and the way they've set it up, I think it's meant to be a longevity game anyway. I don't think they're going to be making another Motorsport for a while, because it's just called Motorsport, and it's got pretty decent online, the physics are all good, like it just needs probably more shit going on in it to make it a bit more like, oh yes, people actually want to come here and play.
Yeah, give them a reason to keep coming back.
Yeah. I've been thinking
It's the
about
same with
doing
like between 7 and 7, whatever the last one was, and the newest one was a pretty massive fucking gap as well at the time.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. I've been thinking of playing it more and more, to be honest. I might even do it, because it's cheaper than the iRacing membership. You can just own it.
Yeah, you just bought, yeah, it's still one big racing.
It's a bit more casual too.
Yeah, that too. Like, I don't get real fucking sweaty into it. It's fucking considered. You've taken too far and you suck a lot of the fucking fun out of it. Like,
Yep. And like the new one did add safety ratings as well to make it a bit less likely cunts are going to crash India. And it has, better than iRacing, it has fault-based penalty systems, but that is usually bad because it's like AI based, right?
yeah, it's running a lot of fucking calculations on the fucking millisecond, you know, makes a call based on what it thinks happened. But it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah. Oh fuck, should we change up gears? Because I got Game Pass to play Horizon, so I wasn't sure if I'd buy it and enjoy it, but I'm definitely enjoying it. Just depends how long I play it, right?
Yeah, that's the thing with the Forza Horizon. It's like, yeah, I don't think 5 was the best, but like I didn't have a lot of play time. But I don't think I had a lot of play time on 4 either. But I feel like I have the same thing. I'll probably play like, you know, probably 100, 200 hours. Leave it at that. But you got all those people that play fucking thousands of hours and just wonder what they're doing, but I guess they're just enjoying it, which is fucking the best.
They did take away that like the seasonal stuff being exclusive, so that actually I reckon will increase play time because like you can just come back and then play whenever you want to get all the extra seasonal shit now.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That festival playlist when it starts.
It hasn't even started yet. I thought it would have already been going, but they didn't even want to make it exclusive to the pre-orders, which is actually kind of nice.
Yeah, it gives everyone a chance to get in. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's 21st. I don't know what the date is today. But
Oh, it's tomorrow.
just for the weekend.
Might even fucking stream it the first day of the playlist.
Yeah, pretty sure they've released like what it's going to be.
Anyway.
Or at least what the reward is for the first one.
Yep. Well, that means it will change seasons too, because it's in spring, right? So it'll go to summer. At the start of the playlist.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it said that when I first loaded it, it's like season change, but it would have been like that's the fucking season that it's starting with.
Yeah. Oh, so it's been spring for 2 weeks.
I don't really remember how seasons work.
There were seasons in 5, I don't remember 4. I played 4 more than I played 5. I was pretty into 4. And that was the England one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and 3's Australia. Yeah, I got the progress, you know, you get like the previous playtime rewards. I got like the rewards of playing from Forza 2 all the way up to the current one, and I was like, fuck, is it that many?
Yeah, it's a lot. I was always on the PlayStation too, so I didn't have, like I was playing Forza with mates' houses and their Xboxes and shit, so it wasn't until like 4 came out on PC like fucking 10 years after the fact, I was like, oh, I can actually fucking play now.
Yeah, and it's still pretty good, still holds up.
Yeah, I think 3 was cracking. If I
Yeah.
did have an Xbox, I would have played a fuckload of 3.
Digital copies for Xbox are like $350 plus of 3.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah, and I was like, oh, you know, it'd be nice, you know, it was never on Steam, whatever. But yeah, trying to get a code for it. Yeah, actually, it's
Really expensive.
fucking warranted it anyway. Cause I don't get it any other time.
$35 from EB Games for a disc copy anyway. If you have an Xbox,
I've got a fucking Xbox 360 set up.
yeah, I think that's too old, mate. You need a 1.
Yeah, but I got Forza Motorsport 4 and Horizon 1 and 2. That's not I can play it.
I think is 4 the one with Jeremy Clarkson in the intro video. I think it is 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Motorsport 4 was the absolute
Pinnacle of motor racing.
Oh, yeah. I just did the progression really well. I think that was the main.
Yeah, the
praise of
career's
that one.
nice.
That's what everyone wanted. Good fucking progression. Whereas Forza has, like, 6 has decent progression. I don't think it's exactly what everyone wanted, but it's like better than it's been.
Yeah. But to give it a bit more of a playtime to actually like properly suss it out and give it a good feel. Roy was saying he plugged in with his wheel and it just felt nice off the bat. Like you could do a little tweaking, but it was good. So
Yep.
they've definitely made improvements in that sense because it, like 5 took me a heaps of effort to make the wheel feel nice.
Yeah, I don't think mine eventually had native support, but like several years after the fact, and even once it had support, it was still fucking, I thought it would be dead, so I didn't really bother with it.
Yep. Oh, we've lost Daniel in the final stretch. Choked under no pressure, lad. I hope I don't know fuel too.
Yeah, the fucking fuel up was fucking angry at me.
Yeah, it's got red then.
Yeah, 18 was fucking cool.
Nice.
18.
Is the ammo for me? No.
343.
Alright, well, points is going to be Husky and Husky, I think. To kick this fool. Yeah, so qualifiers went 59 seconds for me, 1 minute for Husky, and 101 for Dan.
It
First
wasn't
race.
much fun.
Nah, not much between us.
59's pretty fucking quick.
First race was only, 200 milliseconds between us. With your best lap was 57.399, and mine was 57.384. Holy shit.
That had to be that last lap of the first race, right?
Yeah, I reckon it would be, bro.
that was wheeling.
Yeah, our average lap time was 59 seconds, and then Daniel got 59.1 as his best. Did pretty right too. And then we have to leave for these results to go in for the second one. Look at Graffle and chat while I sort this out, I suppose. Boop, 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 boop. Bam, bam. Keep replay. Close. Oh, gamble by Dan. 200k chips, doing well, mate.
Yes, let's go.
Right, is that the server empty? Now it should just auto roll over in a second. Give it a second. I'm just looking at it like, come on now.
Any minute now.
I think they should have done it. There you go. There you go. All right. So our results are, there we go. So for the second race, we had Husky came in first again with a total race time of 21 minutes and 55 seconds, 0.9. And then 58.6 is your best. And then I got 22 and 02, so another like 15 seconds, 10 seconds longer than your race time. But 58.4 is my best. Dan did 22.10, something, 8 seconds behind me, and 58.4 is his best as well. Pretty on par. It's a good lap, Dan. And then FLB did only did 7 laps and 1 minute as his best time, but not too bad. That leaves the points as Husky in first of 38, myself in second with 31, and Daniel in third of 23. And brands hatch for next week, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Hey.
That's track as well.
Brands Hatch.
Yeah, it's a good track, Brands Hatch too. It's like chill, but not at the same time.
Full on.
Makes sense. Yeah. It's got like a bit of tricks to it. It's only a little map, but
yeah, the big one can be a bit probably fucking.
It's punishing the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
100%.
You're fucking not even getting near your fucking top speed because it's uphill.
Oh well, thank you, Donnie.
Thank you guys for joining in.
Having us, mate. Thank
Appreciate
you for having us, mate.
See you next Wednesday. I'll do some little posts, and I'm sure I'll see a video from you, Husky, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, enjoy, boys. Have a good
I
night.
want to see that fucking turn left to turn right straight into Don that you did, mate.
Well, I have to get my version.
Yeah, I'll save that. That's alright. We'll fucking run that one back. It's
I have to do a go-kart derby. You guys going to the V8s on Saturday too?
Yeah, mate.
Yep.
I might not be because GTR Fest is on, but it depends on what time I finish up there at.
That's alright.
See how we go. 'Cause we'll go early in the day, but see. We will see.
Play it by ear sort of thing. Play it by ear.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Cheers, lads.
All right, easy. Catch you, gents.
Later.
See ya.
Alrighty then, chat. Well, I guess we ended up there, but we're going live again tomorrow night from 7 p.m. I think we might be doing some Forza since that bloody season starts tonight, whatever it is, the Horizon playlist. We'll go from there. But we're finishing up here tonight. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. You absolute legends. Oh, lost by Atrix, but good gambles as well. But thank you guys all for tuning in because we're absolute legends. Much love to you, Dons. All right. And yeah, bit of Forza tomorrow, probably some RP on Friday. We'll wait and see, maybe some cop or something. And Saturday we have the V8 Supercars racing event again. But yeah, you guys have been absolute legends. Thank you guys all for tuning in. And as always, much love from me. And remember, fuck Kelly Holiday. All right, chat. Bye now.